happy to be joined now by California head coach Mark Fox and student athletes Grant Anticevich and Andre Kelly. We'll open it up for questions.
Jim McGill with Insider.com. Coach, you had a record that obviously you probably weren't happy with last year, but you had a lot of competitive games, especially at the end of the season, winning the first round in the Pac-12 tournament, taking Colorado down to the wire, and actually beating them during the season. What are some of the positive takeaways that you can bring away from last year?
Well, I would say that if you really knew what these young people had to endure last year, I was pretty proud of the fact that they kept, improving and as you mentioned, stayed competitive and scratched out a few wins. It was a challenging set of circumstances, and I think what it's allowed us to do is to enter this year not with our eyes on last year. That's why the rearview mirror is smaller than the windshield, right? These guys have a grateful approach to what they're allowed to do every day, because last year a lot of it was taken away. I mean, over the years, kids would complain about lifting weights or extra workouts, and when those things are taken away from you, you miss them, and you realize they maybe weren't things you should complain about. So I think that the response I've gotten from this year's team, the guys that returned from a year ago, has just been that they're grateful, and they've really continued to battle forward, and that's created an environment within our team that I think will allow us to improve.
Okay, we've got mics to pass around. So Jeff Ferrato.
Yeah, Jeff Ferrato with Cal Sports Report. For Mark, can you talk about how you went about constructing your non-conference schedule? You got a couple of real tough games when you go to Florida, and then you got some other games that look like maybe it'll help you develop some confidence, some momentum. Can you talk about how you went about setting up your schedule this year?
Well, I would like to say that I had a lot of input in our schedule. The Florida tournament was set up before I was hired at Cal. We had a couple games that were moved forward from a year ago because of COVID delays. I think UNLV and another one that we just moved the games forward. So, it's not something I had that has my fingerprints all over it. But at the end of the day, I think we have a non-conference schedule that's going to prepare us for play in the best league in America. And so that's what you want. I mean, you don't sharpen your teeth, on cupcakes, right? And so we're going to play some good people, and we're going to have opportunities to see where we're at and to hopefully develop and keep growing throughout the season.
Go to Ben.
Ben Parker, CardinalSportsReport.com. Coach, just kind of want to get your thoughts on how you guys plan to maybe make up for the loss of Matt Bradley, 18 points a game. How do you guys kind of plan to kind of keep the scoring up, even though he's departed?
Well, I think in college basketball, eventually players are going to leave. And in today's generation, some are leaving by transfer and some are leaving by going early to the pros. I think with our group, as we've tried to develop our team, we played a little slower the first couple of years because we maybe weren't as deep talent-wise. And I think in our game, teams are better when they play together. And I think that this is going to be a team that we need to have scoring across the lineup. I think we have enough depth and athleticism to play a little quicker, and I think that'll result in hopefully a good offensive group.
Got Jim McGill up front. Nope, very front.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about some of the new additions, the transfer Shepherd, and some of the freshmen that are coming in this year? What are you seeing out of them in camp, and what kind of contribution might fans be able to expect to see from any of them?
Well, let me start with Jordan Shepherd, who's a graduate transfer. Andre's probably smiling because he's really he's a very instinctive player. He has the ability to score the ball, but he makes everybody around him better, and he's mature. He's been very well coached at his previous stops, and so I think he'll make an immediate impact on our team. And then our three freshmen, I mean, they've all made some dynamic plays. They're long, they're athletic, they're all a little bit different. They have a great, an unbridled spirit. There's times they're as wild as Friday night, at least maybe PJ's Friday nights from a few years ago. But there's also times when you can really see the quality of player that they're going to be. I'm excited about all three of the freshmen. I think they have very bright futures. They obviously, 7 practices in, have no idea what they're doing yet, but I think they're going to be really, really impactful players for us. And then you've mixed in Jordan's experience, and certainly they've improved our team.
Got a question from Rocco on the right.
Hey, question for Grant and Andre. Rocco Miller here from Bracketeer.org. You know, in the last decade or so, I think we've all learned covering the sport that old wins in college basketball throughout these one-and-done rosters, a lot of them have fallen short of the tournament. Sometimes those kids don't even get through the season. And now you look at this Cal rotation, at least forecast rotation, maybe you can tell me more later. But it looks like one of the older rotations here in the league. How is that going to benefit you a lot this year after all the wars and lessons that you've both been through?
Yeah, I think definitely having the experience that we have on this team is a huge benefit to us. We have guys now who put in a lot of work this off-season, and obviously experience goes without saying, just helps make your team better. Like we said, we've got a transfer, Jordan Shepherd. Me and Dre are both seniors now. A lot of guys have improved this off-season, gone from sophomores to juniors and seen big improvements in their game. So I just think the overall experience that we have as a team has made every individual more comfortable as players, but also collectively being able to play with each other. And just the collective experience that we're going to have, I think it's going to really help us this season. I think it'll be really evident when we start playing games.
Just to add on that, I think there's a lot of highs and lows, whether that be in a game or throughout the course of a season. And when you're younger, I think sometimes you can get caught in your emotions and caught into that a little bit more. I think having an older team, I think it definitely helps keep the team more stable and steady. So I think that's one thing that I would add in.
Hey, this is Morris Phillips from SportsRadioService.com. Grant, what went into your decision to come back to school this year? I actually met your parents at the Chase Center, and they put that embarrassing picture up from your childhood up. And I'm just wondering, are you missing your family? And you know, just kind of give us a sense of what went into your decision to come back this year.
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the season when I heard about the extra year from COVID, it was definitely something I was considering heavily. And then when I had to get my appendix removed in mid-season, it's basically a decision I made right away. And given the situation, I wanted to spend another year at Cal playing for coach and just have a good final year, given the disruptions that we had last year personally and as a team, just generally because of the season we had from COVID. It was pretty tough, so it was kind of just a decision. It was a pretty easy decision for me to make to stay one more year.
Go back to PJ.
PJ, Carlos Samo, Pac-12 Networks. Foxy, you're at the WAC, you're at Southeastern Conference, now back here, and being involved also in the Ethics Coalition earlier in your career. I'm just curious, the transfer rule, the way it is now, the NIL, looking forward, how do you see it playing out?
You know, Coach, I feel like the older coach now, right? When I was in the WAC, I mean, the WAC then was all the schools. None of the schools are still in it, right? They're all in the Mountain West, and in the game and how you put together a team was different. You know, then I spent a decade, down south, and the game evolves, and one and done kind of hit its peak, and Kentucky obviously was probably the best example of that, and the game continues to evolve. And now that I'm back west and the rules and the landscape continues to change, at the end of the day, you still have to be able to, at your own school, construct a roster that gives you a chance to win. And some places can do that solely through transfers. Some places that have maybe, stiffer requirements academically can't just live that way. The one and done model can only be successful at a handful of schools. But at the, you still have to find a way to put together a team that gives you a chance to be competitive. In our rebuild, we knew it was going to take a little time, and then we dropped a pandemic on top of it, and I mean, you give up an entire off season of training, 100 and something recruiting days, but yet at the end of it, like we look at our team this year excited because we've really tried to construct our team in a way that has versatility, and as he asked earlier, we have some experience. And hopefully we have a group that will allow us to be successful. And one thing that these two guys have become is they're great examples for our young players. And I'm not sure we've had that in our program, but now we do. So we have the most talented freshmen that we've had, at Cal in a while, and they have great examples to learn from. And hopefully, as this landscape continues to evolve, we can rely upon the lessons that these guys will teach the younger guys, and then they can teach it forward.
Grant and Dre, what it was in your guys' mind watching the NCAA tournament last year and the teams that you've competed against throughout your careers having the success that they enjoyed in Indianapolis?
I think for me the biggest thing was a lot of those times we played those teams were right there with them. So it shows to me that we're not far off from being exactly in those same places. So I think if we just clean up some little things here and there, I think that we could be right in those same places as them. So for me, that was kind of motivating watching them play, and definitely adds feel for this upcoming season for me to be in those same positions.
Yeah, I agree with what Dre said. I just think we played a lot of really close games where we went down to the wire during conference season. Games where we knew if we'd made one or two less mistakes or made one more play here or there, we would have won. So in that sense, it's encouraging for us to know that we're right there and that we're on the right track. And obviously, as Dre said, it's added motivation knowing that, that's the hump that we need to get over and that we can get over, and that we believe we will get over with the work that we've put in.
Go to Ben Parker.
Yeah, Cal's been a team that over the years has really benefited from a great home crowd. A few years ago, 18-0 at home, so done really well at home. Just how excited are you guys to have fans back at Haas, and how much of a boost do you guys expect that to give you this year?
Well, I would say they're in better position to answer that than I am, because I only had one season with fans, and they were tremendous, and we missed them a year ago for sure. But as a player, I mean, every day, you come into an empty place and you're dressing in the corner, and you don't have a locker room and you don't have fans. I mean, obviously they were missed, and I'm sure you guys can speak to how excited you are to have them back.
For me personally, it just makes me more grateful and really appreciative of the opportunity of having fans and people in the crowd, because I never once in my life I ever played a basketball, no one in an empty gym or really no one in the stands. So for me, it was something I never really ever felt in my life. So now I'm really excited to have them back, and they really add the different element, when you get a big shot or a key stop, or really adds, gives you energy, and you really do feed off the crowd. Hear everybody going crazy, screaming. Whether that be home or away, when you're playing away, it's fun to, silence the crowd, hit a big shot late in the game, or get a big defensive stop, and definitely fuels you as well when you have hundreds of people, thousands of people screaming, cheering against you. So it works both ways. I'm very excited to have fans back in the stands this upcoming season.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add is, like when we have fans in the stands, it's a pretty intimate place, Haas Pavilion, especially the student section, and everyone's loud. And that's a huge advantage for us, and obviously something that we missed during that COVID year. And it goes without saying that we're very excited to have fans back this season.
Hey Coach, Dre and Grant, just real quick, the one aspect of your program last year because of COVID, according to your SID, you guys never sat down and ate a meal together as a team during the whole season. And Coach, maybe you can talk about, what, I mean, it seems simple, complex, whatever, but it takes away from the whole experience and the bonding of the team. Can you any of you guys talk about what you missed just from that one thing?
Well, I would say that those of us that have been a part of any group, certainly a team, but the people that you work with, to sit down and talk about whatever project you have a shared investment on. That never happened last year, right? They never ate a meal together. They didn't change in a locker room together. We didn't watch film in the film room. We didn't sit next to each other on the bus. We didn't have hotel rooms that we shared, and so the isolation of all those things, and then to have to compete at the highest level with no fans. I mean, it was a challenging year for many ways, and I think that as the coach, my number one focus was, okay, I have a responsibility to keep these young men mentally healthy and on track academically, first and foremost, because we can't let COVID disrupt their lives, even though it's going to disrupt our season. And so I tried to be very mindful of those things. We had some significant mental health challenges last year. But as to Andre's point earlier, we have a bunch of grateful young men right now for what we do have. And that's one of the benefits of not having all those things last year, but certainly not being able to bond impacted our team to a significant degree.
Any other questions? Okay. Thanks for your time. Appreciate you being here. Best of luck this season.
Thank you, guys. Everybody stay safe.
So that completes